And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having an open discussion about what is going on in the world here today, taking a look at the news and having a bit of discussion, a bit of open dialogue with whoever is able to join us for the live portion. And of course, if you are interested in joining the live portion, if you're listening to this anywhere else, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University, and that is at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can also find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat and fistfulofradio.com. There it is. Podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon, as we get ready to jump off and see what is going on in the world today. Being joined today by Daniel New Cat, you see him on the chair there, the kitten, and yeah, you see that they have a fish. And Little Girl trying to get at that fish that is laying in the chair back there, the little floppy fish that is going to drive everybody crazy. If it makes too much noise, I'll throw it out in the hallway. And of course, if you are listening and not able to see, I do try to read through as many of the comments as is reasonable. And I'll go ahead and say hello to some of the people that have had the opportunity to chime in thus far. I see Urban Angst is here, Helter, Dragon, Brian, Rodney, Camilla, Tuck, who wants people to hit the thumbs up. Yes, please do. Dilo, who also says thumbs up. I'll take all the thumbs up I can get on either channel. Brian's here. He said he wanted to rewatch King Kong until he heard about the comments Jack Black made about Trump. On second thought, I won't let him ruin the fun for. Yeah, if you enjoy the film, you enjoy the film. And I believe it was actually his partner who said it. And Jack Black is trying to do damage control, but we all know how Jack Black is too. So the thing is, at the same time, before we get into the news here, you should be able to say whatever you want without persecution, but there is such a thing as tact also. I remember when Reagan was shot, and they didn't start making fun of that until at least a month had gone by. Let things settle down first. Man got shot. He almost got killed. He was shot in the lung, I think, right under his arm. So let it die down first. Two people were really seriously injured. A shooter was killed. A firefighter was killed. Let it die down a little bit first before you jump in there and start trying to be a smartass. Basically, the guy showed no tact whatsoever, and unfortunately, that's our modern reality where people just have no respect for each other, no tact whatsoever. Honestly. Oh, and Granny Smith is now in the room. Granny Smith really likes that fish more than anybody. And Rodney says it's what the Democrats call consequence culture. Yeah, it's consequence culture when it's everyone else, but not them. That's how it is. Oh, by the way, and I'll bring this up a couple of times. I think I fixed the issue with Amazon, because there's the link. People have asked about an Amazon wish list, and people have had trouble getting it to work. And so I've redone it. And that, of course, is for the cats, for those of you who may be listening or watching that aren't familiar. And you see them all puttering around in here. There's 3 of them right there in the shot. We take care of a lot of shelter pets, abandoned animals, injured animals, and things like that. We have 20 we're caring for right now. So, and I've been asked, is there an Amazon wish list for them? But it didn't. Cut it out, Granny. The wish list didn't do right, but I think I've got it sorted out. Tuck says he doesn't find Jack Black entertaining. Never did. For a long time, he was like the ancillary character from the Bruce Willis flick, but why? Yeah, I don't find a lot of comedians. Oh, here's little guy. Here he is. This is the one with the burned paws. His paws are perfectly healed now. He's in great condition. He's doing really well. His paws have healed. The scabs are gone. And he is a bundle of energy now. He is a ball of energy. He's a sweetheart, though. He's a really good boy. So here you go. Go on. Go run around. And Cyberjack Sr. has joined us. I find a lot of the comedians, I don't think they're funny. Like we talked about Ellen saying she's retiring once and for all now. Good riddance. I never thought she was funny. And I remember her from way back before she had a show. Yeah, I'm that old. I never found her entertaining. But yeah, give her an Oscar. Her an Oscar. Give her awards and accolades she can handle. Because Hollywood, and that's how it works. As we get ready to dive into what's going on in the world here today, and we're going to start off with a Fox News article, just a little bit of bleed through from what we've been discussing the last couple of days. But we will get on to other articles today. Monday and Tuesday, I focused primarily on the attempt on Donald Trump. A couple of things to wrap that up, and then we'll move on to different subjects. And Fluke Man says, hello, everyone. Glad you could make it here today. And Rodney says, looking at the wish list, the only options I see are to ship to me for US 50. Can you tell us where we can change the address to the wish list creator? See, now it should be promoting. I worked on it and I had set it up. The link that I just put on here, it should be showing my address because this is a specific list, and it should have the PO box address posted there. That doesn't make any sense to me, Rodney. That it's still not doing right. Let me see here. And it should go to what says an Amazon gift list, Coffee Talk, Lithonia, Georgia is what it should say. And then an add to cart option underneath it. So let me try sharing that. Because I'm trying to hash it out. You know, sometimes honestly, I feel like the drill sergeant from the Three Stooges. Anybody fans of the Three Stooges out there? Do you know what I'm talking about? There's a drill sergeant. This is what you should see when you open that link, because I just opened it. See, it says Coffee Talk, Lithonia, Georgia, pet supplies, right? And then underneath it, there's the stuff transferred from the wish list of basic pet supplies, add to cart. But it should be using my PO box address. And Delo says on Amazon, it says Reno. Really? And Rodney says he found it now. All right, good. Because I feel like, anyway, I feel like the sergeant, if you remember when they were in, they were tricked into registering for the military, and it was a World War I scenario. And the sergeant had absolutely reached the limit with the Three Stooges, and he just falls down in the mud, and he's sitting there, and he goes, everything happens to me. I empathize with that guy sometimes. Anyways, Urban Angst says, when I heard that the shooter was included in a BlackRock ad video, I think it's clear who, what, where, when, and definitely why. Yeah, and we showed that commercial yesterday, and I had a hard time finding it because it had been removed. BlackRock took it down. And the image that I found, it was really grainy and crappy, but you could tell what it was, and you could see the kid. And they said that he was an unpaid participant. Unpaid participant is what they called him. And Puck says, it says full address hidden for privacy. Really? It should have been an open address. It's really just the P.O. box is where it's going to. But yeah, that should be correct. That should be correct, Puck. But it's there, he says. Thank you. I tried. And Tuck says, the first time I tried sending a gift, it was part of an order and it came to me. The second time, the gift was the whole order and arrived just fine. No, honey, get out of my teacup, sweetheart. You're not supposed to be in my tea. So on to the first article here. Fox News article, Trump assassination attempt, Secret Service director faces new heat for sloped roof comment. Okay, now I'll read the article and I'll make the point. We talked about this actually quite a bit over the last couple of days. It says the director of the Secret Service is facing blistering criticism Tuesday after claiming during an interview that personnel were not positioned on top of the building where the rally shooter opened fire because of a sloped roof, despite images showing snipers set up on a sloped roof behind the former president's podium. U.S. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle, the diversity hire extraordinaire, made the remark during an interview with ABC News in which she said the agency was aware of the security vulnerabilities presented by the building that crooks took a sniper's position on to aim at Trump. Quote, that building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point. And so, there's a safety factor that would be considered there if we wouldn't want to put somebody up on a sloped roof. And so, the decision was made to secure the building from inside. But critics on social media aren't having it, calling Cheadle's sloped roof comment total BS that defies believability. And here are the snipers that actually shot Cheadle on the other sloped roof that looks like it's at about a 10 to 15% incline. And the sloped roof that Cheadle was on looks like about a 10% incline. It's such a moderate incline on the roof where Cheadle was positioned, or not Cheadle, where Crooks was positioned, that it's almost laughable. And now she's saying that for safety concerns, they didn't want to. And here's the roof that Crooks was on, right? You see that that's a much smaller slope. You can see that's a smaller slope easily. But that's what they did. Thank you for that, Monkey. Everybody wanted that view. Monkey Cat, everybody. That's what we've been calling him. Fluke Man says the sergeant from the Three Stooges falling down Gran Torino. Who else have I missed? Well, they reused. Don't drink my tea. Get out of the teacup. They reused that footage several times on the Three Stooges. As they got older, they got to rehashing certain scenes, and so that one was used a couple of times. But yeah, the roof that Crooks was on was not nearly as sloped as the one that the actual snipers were positioned on. And so that sounds like a load of crap when they sit there and say, oh, for safety concerns, we didn't want to put anybody on that roof. And it's like, but you put two snipers on a roof that had a much steeper incline than the one that Crooks was on. You put an officer inside the building, but no one around the perimeter, and then threw it on local law enforcement. Oh, well, we thought it would be covered because there were some police in the area. And they have responded to this. They have responded to this, and I have an article pulled up from local law enforcement that's actually pretty pissed off about that. Helter says she's either lying because she's that incompetent or she's lying to cover up something bigger. And Puck says he saw an article that said Kim Cheadle's placement was the request of Joe Biden's office. I wouldn't be surprised. And Raccoon thinks that's a cute name. What, calling him Monkey? He's a monkey so far. He sure acts like one. Dragon says she could have claimed something with plausible deniability, like the roof wasn't structurally sound to house the extra weight of snipers or something we can't verify in 30 seconds with our own eyes. No kidding. It's a very weak excuse on her part. A very, very weak excuse on her part. That's what she's thrown out there. And people aren't buying it because you can look at those two roofs. Like I showed in the photos and like I explained, the roof that Crooks was on was not nearly as the roof where the two professional snipers were placed. And Puck says he can't have a cup of glass sitting anywhere with one of the cats sticking their head in it. Yeah, that's what he does. He sticks his face in there. Rodney says perhaps security was intentionally atrocious in order to give nut bars an opportunity. There's a lot of speculation leaning in that direction. I mean, think about it. This kid got into the grounds with a ladder, a rifle, and a rangefinder, and people saw him and reported it up to a half an hour before the actual shooting take place. And they said, oh, we were looking around and we couldn't find anybody. All right. Here's something else that has not been brought up at all. I haven't seen it in any article. Any article. He had a rangefinder. Was he supposed to have a partner that didn't show up? Has anybody mentioned that? He was spotted with a rangefinder. Was he going back and forth between the scope and the rangefinder? Or was someone supposed to be there? Sven said if she would just not speak, she would be further ahead. No kidding. And Tuck says a pair of rented man lifts, each with a beach umbrella, a guy with binoculars and a radio. Somehow they couldn't pull that off. And people saw him, and you've seen the video clips already. A lot of people saw this guy. A lot of people were watching him. A lot of people spotted him when he was on the roof. But, oh, they couldn't find him. And then she also throws this on local law enforcement. Oh, I thought it was enough that local law enforcement was around. Well, they don't appreciate that too much. News Nation article, officers surprised with Trump rally responsibilities. Okay? And here they are collecting up someone that's been injured in the crowd, unfortunately. So here we are. Local police authorities were stunned. Areas outside of Trump's Butler, Pennsylvania rally perimeter were assigned to them prior to the attempted assassination. A source close to the Butler Township Police Department says officers were surprised they were assigned partial responsibility for the area outside of the rally perimeter, especially with tall buildings. Given the size of the department, which the Butler Township only has 12 full-time patrol officers to cover 3 shifts, they had believed traffic operations would be their duties as opposed to security, which makes sense. That's a pretty small town operation. They've got a dozen people to cover a 24-hour period, and you're like, oh, you guys are on security detail, and they're like, what? Are you serious? The source tells News Nation that Butler police believed the Secret Service perimeter would have been much larger. The Secret Service maintains several local agencies were supporting outside the perimeter, although Butler County DA Richard Goldinger says localized tactical teams were not assigned to the building from which Crooks fired his shots. And then there's a bunch of opinions here. I don't care about people's opinions. I just want to make the point. Oh, Rodney says Amazon order on the way. Thank you, Rodney. And thank you to Jane. I don't know if Jane is in here today. Jane is the one that gave us that electronic fish that's laying in the chair behind me. I'll show that in a minute. And Sean has joined us. Glad you could make it today. So the local police, of which there are only a dozen to cover 3 shifts, which means that not everybody could be there, were stuck with perimeter details. And they thought that was inappropriate. But who are they going to complain to? They'll say something now because everything's blown up. They'll say something now. Anyway, this is what I'm talking about. 2 of these came to the P.O. box today. And they are from Jane. And it's an electronic fish. It flops. And it smells like a fish too, which is really weird. But she sent these. I really appreciate that, along with something else for the cats. And that's what's laying in the chair right there. And they were all terrified of it, except for Granny Smith, who would not let anyone else touch it either. And Puck says, I heard they had law enforcement in the building that Crooks was on. Correct. And that brings up other questions. Even though there was a lot of noise, that's a steel roof. You ever been in a building with a steel roof and had somebody up on the roof? You can hear it. I don't care how loud it is. You can hear the buckling, and you're like, what the hell is that? Nobody bothered to check that? There's too many questions. There's too many questions, and nobody's getting any answers. Like I said, he had a rangefinder. Was there supposed to be a partner that was going to spot for him and didn't show, and then he took it upon himself? And what is Biden's take on all of this? What do you expect Biden's take to be? It's probably exactly what you think. He's got the same opinion as The View. Independent article. Biden says it's time to outlaw the AR-15 after the assassination attempt. That's Biden's take on this. He thinks that we should do away with the AR-15 completely because of this. Here's a snippet from his recent press conference. I'll play it really quick if it'll let me, because sometimes this gets wonky. Here we go.
An AR-15 was used in the shooting of Donald Trump. Just as it was a...
Oh, my God. Hold on, it's an ad.
...assault weapon that killed so many others, including children. It's time to outlaw them. I did it once, and I will do it again. An AR-15 was used in the shooting of Donald Trump. Just as it was an assault weapon that killed so many others, including children. It's time to outlaw them. I did it once, and I will do it again.
He really slurred his words there. It was kind of hard to understand. An R-15 rifle. It was not an AR-15. I've only ever seen that it was an AR type. It doesn't mean that it is. And you're basically telling me that no one can use any other kind of rifle and get the same results or better results. Just the AR-15. Yeah, okay. Okay. Just the AR-15. But yeah, this is his takeaway. Not the fact that we had a kid who was basically crazy. You saw the video clips of his outrageous behavior that I played the last couple of days of him screaming in the streets, screaming that Republicans need to have their throats cut. Rodney says, oh my goodness, Biden looks like a ghoul animated by the dark arts. He is. Yeah, well, you know, sometimes I think your evil shows on you. You know what I mean? Kind of like Soros. Soros looks like a bag of skin. It's just scary. Puck says if he did it once, why does he have to do it again? I don't know, Puck. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. It's old Joe and he's crazy. And this is what you get. This is what you get with Crazy Joe. Like I said, he slurred his words and he ran them together. He does not speak clearly. He mumbles. Even when he's outraged and yelling, he mumbles. But apparently his take on this, and again, this is from the Independent. President Joe Biden renewed his demand for Congress to ban high-powered firearms such as the AR-15 style rifle that a gunman used to shoot Donald Trump. And they say our AR-15 style. He says it is an AR-15. Quote, AR-15 was used in the shooting of Donald Trump, just as other assault weapons were used to kill so many others, including children. He says in his remarks at the NAACP's 115th National Convention. I don't know what any of that has to do with the NAACP. I don't think the NAACP serves a purpose anymore, to be honest. And Hungry Prepper says, Sloppy Joe. Absolutely. Dragon says, and yet Biden calls for no actions against Secret Service or local police for security lapses. No. No. And Urban compares Biden to Weekend at Bernie's. Only he's not dead yet. And Raccoon says they made an Amazon order. Well, thank you, Raccoon. I'm glad that one's working because, like I said, I don't know, maybe it's probably my fault. I probably screwed something up with the initial wish list, but at least that one is functional. And again, all the help we can get as far as the felines are concerned. But yeah, this is the go-to answer. This is the first thing that they said on The View. Shouldn't surprise anybody. But that was the first, oh, this is about time that we banned guns. Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, you do that. You do that. Like how they wanted to ban fertilizer after the explosion in, where was it, Ohio, years ago? The fertilizer, just the fertilizer bomb. And don't get me started on conspiracy theories with that. Because, man, there's a lot of conspiracy theories there, and they are fairly credible. They are fairly credible. Because, oh, that's not supposed to work. Close that. They're credible because the type of explosion that occurred from the type of explosion that occurred from that bomb, that truck full of fertilizer, should not have collapsed the building supports. Hungry says Oklahoma. Thank you. Thank you. I couldn't remember. I can't remember everything, guys. I try. I do try. Let's see if I can get this to do right. This is a clip I wanted to play for everybody, and it keeps over expanding, and I needed to stay. Maybe I can get, no, that's not it either. Pain in the butt. Pain in the butt, some of these things trying to share. I wanted to show the Secret Service agent that everybody keeps talking about, the #1 diversity hire, and I'm trying to get this to expand properly so that I can share it. And it's not cooperating with me. Let me see if I can share it. Because you know the one I'm talking about. They've been making fun of her pretty much relentlessly as being a massive diversity hire. Okay. They've been making fun of her relentlessly, and there's some things I wanted to point out here as to why that's occurring. Here we go. Now I've got it. This is her. Yeah, there's sound on this, but we don't need the sound. Now you see she cannot reholster her weapon. There's a lot going on in this image, and it should continue to replay. There's like 4 women out there. There she is, hiding when the president was shot. Here she is out in front of his car, unable to reholster her weapon. And here's the other 2 or 3 females running around in a circle. There she is hiding. The boys are on top of Trump. She's hiding. Then she jumps out in front. Now she can't get her gun in her holster. And these other women are running in a circle like they don't know where they are. On the right there. Puck wants to know if Congress can impeach us, a Secret Service director. I'm not sure. I don't see why not. And Camilla says, so sick of DEI hiring. I want the most qualified person for the job. Exactly. It doesn't matter. I don't care if it's a woman. Can she do it? Can she do it? That's the question. Now, here's some of what I noticed from this. Okay. First of all, she is pretty short. She looks like she's about 5'4". Okay. She's not even as tall as the limo. The guys were. Okay. The guys are all tall enough. So there goes Trump in. The guys shut the door. All right. So he's secure, and they're running around in circles. they're all pretty short. All these women are pretty short. She looks, I don't think that's her there, but this woman looks pretty old. All right. I'm sure you've seen her because she's the one that they're really focusing on when they make fun of this. She looks pretty old. She looks out of shape, and she looks to be about 5'4" at most. She's unable to reholster the weapon. Now, arguments that have been made is that, well, maybe the holster was damaged. Now, this is her. Here she is. When all of the guys are on top of Trump, because, and you should be at least comparable height to your client. This is important because this type of a security detail is essentially a human shield. You're there to act as a human shield to prevent your client from being a target. If you are a foot shorter than your target, again, she looks to be about 5'4". Trump is 6'2". That's about a 10-inch difference. You are leaving your client as a viable target simply because of your height. They pile on top of them, and she ducks down behind everybody else here. Okay? There she is hiding. That's a different woman in, under Trump's arm. She's still too short, too. All the guys are Trump's height. You notice this. She's also too short. These other women are running around in circles while she's trying to holster. And the excuse that I've heard is that maybe she fell, or maybe her holster was damaged and that's why she can't get it in. If you watch that clip, and I played it over and over again, and here's Stacy. She says, I'm so glad we're talking about this. Well, glad you could make it. And Puck says, look at Putin's security. And All People says NAACP was not created by or for black slave descendants. It was created by white socialists. And Puck, where am I here? Rodney says, surely you'd want the Secret Service members to be at least as tall as the person they're protecting. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, if you watch the video, and I've let this video clip run through a few times, watch for it, okay? Now, and here's Monkey. Monkey has joined us. Glad you could make it today. Her badge is on her pelvic bone. This is usually where the badge is carried, on the left side, on the front of the pelvic bone, usually about where your first left belt loop is. You see it there, okay? And then she must be left-handed because her holster is on her left side, a forward-facing holster on her left, which is about at her direct hip, which is 5 inches back from the location of the badge, okay? You see it there? As opposed to if you were right-handed, then it would be on your right hip or slightly behind you, facing with the magazine end facing in a different direction. And Zane has joined us. What's going on here is she is trying to holster the weapon. Her holster isn't damaged. She's trying to holster the weapon into her badge because she's trying to holster it into the front. Monkey said they had to deal with physicians for the last few days where the BMV needed a statement to sign a paper saying I'm good to drive. Wow. Okay, well, I'm glad you got it sorted. Now that I've said that, watch again. Okay? Holstering on the badge. Like she doesn't know. And then finally gets it after about 6 or 7 tries. Stacy says, what do you think of the situation? Do you think it was staged? If it was, it wasn't staged by Trump because no one in the government's fit to help him. I think there's a lot of credibility to where people are suggesting that an opening was left for crooks to get in there. That's a plausible conspiracy theory, the way everything looks. As we've talked about this over the last couple of days, Monday and Tuesday, we talked about it exclusively. I'm wrapping things up today, but I do have other news articles I want to get to. Puck says that there's no females on Trump's detail this time, not at the RNC. Wow. Wow. And Luke Man says it's funny, all these inclusive people never stand up for dwarves. We don't hear them complaining, even with Snow White. There's no outrage by the left on dwarves themselves. Yeah. Why aren't there any dwarves on the detail? I want to see dwarf security detail Secret Service agents. That's what I want. But yeah, she's trying to holster into her badge. Perhaps she's used to carrying it somewhere else. See? And then perhaps also she's not experienced with practicing drawing and reholstering, which a lot of people do. Can I draw? How fast can I draw safely? How quickly can I get it reholstered safely? Is a drill you should practice, which obviously she has not done if she's trying to holster her badge. And Camila says the negligence of that day sure does make me wonder. Yeah, again, no one on the roof. Poor excuses for why no one was on that roof. It was dumped on local law enforcement for perimeter security out there. And local law enforcement was like, what are you talking about? You know, normally there's only 12 of us. Normally we get like traffic detail or something. Why are we getting saddled with this? And then they were put in the building. There's too many holes there. He was spotted up to a half an hour before the event, before the actual incident. And they claimed they couldn't find him. They claimed they couldn't find him. But everybody else saw him. Everybody else saw him. Because you can find the film on the internet of people filming the guy climbing on the roof. And Joe Doe says, I know average Joe citizens who can holster a gun better than these special agents. No kidding. And Lucky says he should have just hired Hooters girls. And Zane wants to know how that'll affect election results. Well, it will certainly help Trump. It can't hurt Trump. It couldn't hurt Trump. He must be up because, I mean, that whole situation gives him a lot of street cred, if nothing else. And Brian says she should watch Prepper University. Somebody should. That channel's been killed. YouTube has killed that channel. Monkey says, just in case YouTube blocked it, last physician tried recommending to a neurologist just to check a single box. But this one I went to did a fabulous job at his job of checking up on me. Okay. Well, like I said, I'm just glad you got it sorted out. But there's so many questions. And again, one of the big questions I had was if he was spotted also carrying a rangefinder, does that imply, or should it imply, he might have been expecting a partner to show up that didn't come? What's he doing with a rifle and a rangefinder? You know what I mean? That seems kind of cumbersome to me. I mean, it's not like he's up in a tree spotting location waiting for a deer to go by, and he's got all the time in the frickin' world. But, you know, we beat that pretty good. We beat that pretty good over the last few days. We're going to get on to one of my other pet peeves here now. And that would be artificial intelligence. Joe says YouTube censorship has gotten much worse since the attempt on Saturday. And was the ladder already attached to the building? No, Joe. He brought it with him. He bought it that morning at a local Home Depot. And so somehow walked through that crowd with a rangefinder, a rifle, and a ladder, a 5-foot ladder that he bought at Home Depot that morning, and was spotted by people in the crowd and was reported to law enforcement. But somehow, law enforcement could not find him. They couldn't find him. He was reported carrying stuff 30 minutes before he started firing. People in the crowd were concerned. People were filming him. People were photographing this kid. People were filming him crawling across the roof. I showed the video on Monday and Tuesday. Officer, right there. You see him on the roof. People were stating you could clearly see he was bear crawling on the roof with a rifle because that roof was very low. It was below the view of the sniper locations that were set up on roofs that were sloped much worse than the one he was on. And Zane says 30 minutes. Dang, yeah, the first report officially was 30 minutes before he took his first shot. 30 minutes. Plus, the law enforcement was already looking for him, and we brought this up yesterday at the very beginning, was already looking for him since that morning because his own father reported him. My son's missing, and he's got one of my rifles. I don't know where he is. Which indicates to me that his father knew something was wrong with him. If he's like, where the hell's my son? Where's my rifle, and where the hell is Thomas? Oh no, I better call the police. That's his first instinct, to call the police. Something's wrong with that kid. So really, the first report came in hours before the event. But the first event report came in almost 30 minutes, somewhere between 26 and 30 minutes, they said. And there was multiple reports from people in the crowd because he was carrying suspect equipment. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Puck. He says there's a story Crook's parents reported him missing to police on Saturday. You don't report a 20-year-old missing unless he's got issues. You know what I mean? Unless he's got issues. Fluke Man says if Crooks was hired by someone in the government, why was this so poorly planned? To keep him as far distanced as possible. Speaking in terms of a theory, if we're going to assume, for the sake of argument, I'll put it that way to satisfy the algorithm. If we're going to assume for the sake of argument, which this is all conjecture anyways, because we don't really know what the hell happened. Honestly, all we can do is speculate as well as can be based on what we have available. You would want to keep as much distance between you and him as possible, so you don't want to make it look too professional. Figuring he's going to die anyways, so no one will ever know. Which, he's dead, so no one will ever know. And Joe says everyone in crowd filmed him for 2 minutes at least, correct? And we showed the interview with the one guy with the red hair, some of you might remember from yesterday, that was watching him for up to, he said it, somewhere between 3 to 4 minutes while he was informing law enforcement. He kept an eye on him crawling on the roof, bear crawling on the roof. And he did a full interview the other day. And Jericho says supposedly a drone caught him crawling as well. I didn't read, but I saw the news post about that. And Zane wants to know what the average police response time is. It depends on what it is. And Rodney says Trump cover-up escalates as photo editor. A popular publication wants to ban iconic raised fist photo for making GOP nominee look too good, according to the Daily Mail. Well, he made the cover of Time with that photo. He's on the cover of this week's Time because it is iconic, whether they like it or not. That's more iconic than the mugshot. This is the worst thing that ever could have happened to the to the DNC because he looks fantastic now. And Joe says, have you seen the video of Thomas having a screaming meltdown at what appeared to be a school? Yes, we showed that clip yesterday where he's screaming slash Republican throats. Yeah, we showed that yesterday. He's completely blown away, screaming his head off. And then Brian says, yet the gun laws get blamed when he got the gun illegally and already had intentions to break the law. Correct. Because he swiped it from his dad. And Urban says it's really not that difficult to apply basic hypnosis technique to manipulate a young, frustrated, lonely person to put themselves in a situation from which there is no backing down. Ah, yeah, really. And Cyberjack says more issues than a magazine rack. Okay. And New World says finally caught alive reporting. I look forward to this every day. Well, I'm glad you do. I'm glad you get something out of it. I hope everybody gets something out of it. You know, I hope everybody gets something out of the conversation. And Monkey says, a theory here: FBI, CIA probably picked this outcasted kid as a person to carry out the deed, successful or not. Successful or not. And All People says shooter's dad was a psychologist and a radical leftist. How do we know this kid was not MK Ultra? I heard his father was a counselor. I don't know if he was a psychiatrist or not, for sure. But I heard he was a counselor or something. But what are you going to do? We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But jumping to this. I wanted to make a point about this because, you know, I have issues with, I have a big, long pet peeve list. And on that list is AI, okay? Because it doesn't work. It's another form of technology that has been rolled out and forced on us, and it doesn't freaking work. And this is a BBC News article, all right? Bacon ice cream and nugget overload sees misfiring McDonald's AI has been withdrawn. So McDonald's is removing artificial intelligence-powered ordering technology from its drive-through restaurants in the U.S. after customers shared its comical mishaps online. A trial of the system, which was developed by IBM and uses voice recognition software to process orders, was announced as far back as 2019. It is not proved reliable, however, resulting in viral videos of bizarre, misinterpreted orders ranging from bacon-topped ice cream to hundreds of dollars worth of chicken McNuggets. McDonald's told franchisees it would remove the technology from more than 100 restaurants. It has been testing has been testing the AI in by the end of July, as first reported by trade publication Restaurant Business. After thoughtful review, McDonald's has decided to end our current global partnership with IBM on AOT, or automated order taking, beyond this year, the restaurant chain said in a statement. However, we will continue to evaluate long-term scalable solutions that will help us make an informed decision on future voice ordering solutions by the end of the year. Basically, we're going to take another crack at it, even though it doesn't work, because then we don't have to pay for somebody to take the orders. That's why they were experimenting with artificial intelligence order taking. And it was a massive failure because it doesn't understand anything. Anybody tried to do anything with AI. Meta has been forced on everybody on Facebook. Try using it. It won't find anything you're looking for. It totally doesn't understand you. It totally doesn't understand you. It has no freaking clue. It's a form of technology that has been forced out, that has not been perfected, that does not work properly. Like a lot of my other pet peeves that I've talked about, electric, cordless lawn equipment that doesn't freaking work, electric cars that do not work as well as we've been told that they do, solar and wind power which doesn't work. Okay, and I've done extensive independent videos on that subject, demonstrating with the government's own websites that they are failed systems. rolling out technology that's not ready because it hasn't been perfected and forcing us to muddle through it. And that's what this is. Think about this. If after years, because they started testing this in 2019, so in 5 years, they can't get this system to take an order at a drive-through window, but AI is making decisions for your life. And they're forcing it on you everywhere. You can't rely on it to give you the right amount of chicken nuggets. Think about that. But we're going to let it run you. We're going to let it answer the phone every time you call to talk to anybody. We're going to let it make decisions. Like you can really trust this stuff. And Zane says the technology isn't there yet. Exactly. Brian wants to know how Thomas got his hands on his father's rifle. I'm sure, I mean, the same way that kids get access to their parents' liquor cabinet. I mean, I'm sure he figured it out. He must have known how to get there, or if it was locked up, where the spare key was or something. Puck thinks it sounds like an FBI operation. Lucky says, why ban an AR when some people can't hit from 125 yards? Are we banning 308s? I hope not. Rodney says many companies are jumping into AI because they think they can fire more people, cutting costs, of course. And Zane says AI animation programs are getting to the point where we can almost replace animation studios. Urban said AI is the tech version of Cold Fusion. Who remembers Cold Fusion? Yeah, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work, but we're being forced to use it. Like I said, the electric cars, they're not ready. Thousands of electric cars were stranded for more than a week in Illinois during the freeze. Oh, but no problem. The batteries died and they could not charge. There's a fleet of mothballed electric school buses and electric snowplows sitting in warehouses in New York because they don't work. But they want you to drive one. The technology's not ready. Solar panels aren't ready. There's over 1,000 solar farms in the United States producing less than 1% of America's grid. 1%, less than 1%. Meanwhile, 61 nuclear plants provide 20% of the power, and then 400 coal plants provide almost 30%. But 1,000 solar plants provide less than 1% of the power on the grid. But solar energy, yeah, it's the way to go. It doesn't work yet. And we're spending billions on that. We're spending billions on this too. At least this isn't tax dollars. At least McDonald's is spending their own damn money. But they keep trying to force technology that's not ready. Fookman says there's a news article said a new antibacterial strain was developed or discovered by AI, but don't know how true that is. As I try to catch up, I'm way behind on comments. Jericho says they tried using Meta AI by asking a question regarding cease and desist letters from child support, and it said I'm not able to provide that information. And they asked Chat GPT, and it gave them a whole format on cease and desist. But yeah, a lot of those systems do not work properly and cannot be trusted. And Puck says, I heard he often borrowed the rifle and went to a local range. Yeah, there was a local range that he was seen at that morning. He was seen at that morning. And Puck says, thankfully, we're still decades away from Skynet being self-aware. I don't know, because if this stuff is in charge, Skynet could be tomorrow. It doesn't need to be fully functional to screw us all up and ruin us. It doesn't have to be. It does not have to be. And speaking of electric vehicles, something here about Tesla real quick. I thought this was funny. There's something that for Elon Musk to look into. And this is a Deutsche Welle article, because this is a German a German article translated into English. Tesla's factory is missing 65,000 coffee cups. It's attributed to employee theft, by the way. The cups were one of many contentious items on the agenda at a recent staff meeting as some workers and management faced off against the IG Metal Union. When Tesla's plant manager, Andre Thierg, took the podium toward the end of a rowdy staff meeting, Germany's Handelsblatt newspaper reported, he did not mention the bitter conflict between the Workers' Council and the IG Metal Union that had dominated the discussion until then. Quote, "I'm just going to give you a figure," Thierig said at the Tesla factory, which employs some 12,000 people in a sprawling complex southeast of Berlin. "We've bought 65,000 coffee cups since we started production here." 65,000! Statistically speaking, each of you already has 5 IKEA coffee cups at home. "I'm really tired of approving orders to buy more coffee cups," he said, to laughter and applause, promising there would be no cutlery in the break rooms if the theft didn't stop. He took the opportunity to vent, I see. Nobody's been listening to him on this. Even before the tens of thousands of purloined cups in the most recent Workers' Council elections, Tesla's gigafactory in the Grünheide in the south of Brandenburg has been a center of controversy. Yeah, and they were sabotaged not too long ago by activists who cut off the plant. Lucky says he left the range with confidence. ? Yeah, I bet he did. And Tuck says, yes, a barely functional AI could still be disastrous. I will remind you of an article I read a few months back where military was testing a drone, and they wanted to test giving drones instructions. This was an AI operated drone that was armed with dummy rockets. Okay, I'm going to remind you. The test was to give the drone instructions and then cancel the instructions to test the AI's reaction. When he canceled the target, the drone flew back and fired its dummy rockets at the building where the drone's instructor was located. Okay, we read this article like 5 or 6 months ago. They turned around and fired at the building where he was transmitting from. And when they checked the data to find out why the hell did the drone turn and attack its handler, it's because it didn't want to call off its mission, and it figured if there was no one giving it instructions, it could go back to its mission because there wouldn't be anyone left to tell it what to do. Yeah. And you trust this shit? That sounds just like Skynet. Don't tell me. Its first instinct is to kill its operator, not realizing it had dummy ammunition because it was a test. It tries to kill the handler. Some of you might remember that article. Really, let that sink in. And Tuck says he's fine with AI turning on its handlers directly. Yeah, as long as it doesn't turn on the rest of us too, because then everyone else is the threat, right? We're all a threat at that point. That's a scary thought. Its first instinct is to kill its own handler because it didn't like the instructions. It's a computer program. How does it know it doesn't like the instructions? And Raccoon says, like Marvel's Ultron. Yeah. Well, Ultron decided that we're worthless. He spent like 5 minutes on the internet and said, yeah, people are ridiculous. Which I can kind of agree with. I don't want to kill them all, but I get it. And Kami Thong says Skynet is more aware than humankind is. Yeah, you would think so. But that's something to really think about. But we trust this. We want AI all over the place, making all the decisions for us. And it doesn't understand anything. It really doesn't, or it doesn't care. Or hell, it's programmed not to care. Either way, I don't trust any of it. But there you go. There we go. As we get close to the top of the hour and we get ready to start wrapping things up, again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. That is at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com. You can find me surrounded by cats. Here's Monkey taking a nap on this towel. And I will say thank you to everybody who was able to join us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation. And we will